Hi, it's the Lady Star G. I am here to share with you a presentation of my 8 days in Virginia from December 2024 to January 2025. There are so many historical markers along the highways and the streets, in front of buildings, near parks, near the water. You will not be able to catch them all. You just won't be able to capture them all. You probably should find an online directory of historical markers. That's what I would do because it's just too much to capture. I mainly stayed in Virginia Beach. My first day, I visited the Virginia Aquarium, which is a combination of two buildings, a large outdoor play area and an outdoor interactive play area, like a learning area. I spent at least 6 hours there till closing at 5 p.m. And it was just too much. Like I couldn't see the outside exhibit. It was a lot to see. So my visit had a full itinerary. I spent 2 days in Norfolk, 2 days in Hampton, one day in Williamsburg, one day in Chesapeake, and the majority of my remaining time was in Virginia Beach. Chesapeake is a very serene area with large, pleasant shopping areas. I did a little bit of shopping in Chesapeake. It has a lot of military memorials. Well, the whole area has a lot of military memorials everywhere. It's like water and military. A few days, well, most of the days that I could, I walked the boardwalk and the sandy beach at Virginia Beach as often as I could and as long as my body could stand it. It is so beautiful looking at the blue sky meet the blue water. It's very peaceful. My first day, I enjoyed a great diversity of sea creatures at the Virginia Aquarium, from different jellyfish to an abundance of different color size fish. I saw two kissing fish one day, sharks, turtles, stingrays, birds, seals, snakes, frogs. They had it all. Any kind of under the sea animals. It was amazing. I visited the NASA Langley Field where the human computers worked. I didn't know it the first day I visited, but it was across from the water from Hampton University. I visited the Virginia Museum of Contemporary Art. There was an exhibit featuring talent from across the state of Virginia. I really liked it. I saw the glass work of a chandelier maker by the name of Dale. I'm scared I'm going to botch his last name. It was like Chulicki. I first saw his works years ago at the uh, Mint Uptown Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I saw his colorful piece in Virginia, I knew it was his work. It had to be the same artist. I was impressed with the art created by the youth in their summer camp, so I took a picture of that room. I enjoyed three different Kwanzaa celebrations. One was very educational and was hosted by a historical library in Norfolk. There was a room full of educated women. They had their stuff together. I was so impressed and grateful to share the room with them. I went to a Kwanzaa celebration in Virginia Beach where I met the quilt lady who had the most exquisite African cloth, extra large quilts with matching pillowcases. I could not help myself, so I purchased one of her authentic wall quilts in a star pattern with a specific name and the motherland with Madagascar emblem on the back. Another Kwanzaa event I attended in Hampton featured the honoring of kings and queens for their service to the community. The daughter of the organizer, Ebony, she danced a beautiful tribute dance to the elders. I found out later that she graduated from VSU with Joy Parker. My other small world story is I met Kwame Alexander's sister, who was selling African fair trade products, but she had a whole bunch of his titles on the table. So I commented to the man minding the table, and he said, "That's my wife's brother." I walked the campuses of Norfolk State University and Hampton University. These college campuses are supersized. I guess that's how the state of Virginia is. Anyway, I um I was amazed at how much bigger these two schools are than NCCU. I've walked NCCU many times, and without a doubt, NCCU is smaller. The the Norfolk State University Library was the size of an extra large cruise ship. At Hampton, I had the opportunity to stand in front of Emancipation Oak, where the former enslaved persons watched for the coming of January 1, 1863, for President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation to take effect for their freedom. Virginia Beach had a brilliantly lit, energetic, colorful, jazzy New Year's Eve vibe celebration at what is called Town Center. It was fancy. I guess vibe is Virginia Beach with the I and the B in the middle because they got that vibe. I saw that coming out of the museum. I saw like a bike rack or a silver metal piece of public art that said vibe on it. I met these three older ladies who took to me as we boarded the elevator to go up on the balcony of this town square place with shops and restaurants. So one was a cancer survivor who said she actually was suffering with a reoccurrence, but her first cancer was treated at Duke Cancer Center. So we struck up a conversation. Then another said she was an art history major and was going back to school to get her degree paid for by an initiative in the state of Virginia to pay for senior citizens to get a college degree. We started talking art. It was interesting how she knew art movement. So we swapped stories about wealthy art collectors. I have to come back to view the Chrysler Museum in the future. It started raining so bad, I left. I was soaked, really soaked. I went to the Chesapeake Arboretum for a first day hike sponsored by the Parks and Recs Department. The president of the Arboretum told us about over 250 camellia trees were donated by a widower in 1999, and the plants have survived all this time, although not native to Virginia, but Japan. The place was called Camellia Grove, and the red, white, pink flowers were in bloom. I could hardly believe it, but I guess the love of this man's wife who died makes it so. Our volunteer guide was Ed Bradley, and he was super knowledgeable. He told me about the Great Bridge battlefield I went to later. But the thing that stuck in my mind is he said that there are only two natural lakes in Virginia. All others are man-made, including Lake Gaston that you pass as you enter into Virginia from North Carolina. The other guy was a bird watcher. I took his picture because he was a descendant of President Lincoln's Secretary of State, William Henry Seward. I was able to visit four museums while in the area. I spent the most time indoors at the Jamestown Settlement and the Hampton History Museum. But one thing is that Virginia has a lot of history. There are historic battlefields of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the War of 1812, everywhere. There are a lot of military institutions, forts, and ports. The whole place is like more water than land. It's like floating land. As Virginia is the first successful British colony, it has a lot of history of people, places, and things. The interactions with the Powhatan, and the Algonquin Indians and other indigenous first peoples. The first landing of Africans from the West Coast was at Point Comfort at Fort Monroe, which was built later. The history of the Portuguese, who were the first to capitalize on slave labor to South and Central America. It is a lifetime of learning in this place, in this part of the country. It's a lifetime of learning. As many days as I could, I worked out in the hotel fitness room, mostly on the elliptical, but also the treadmill a couple of days, and the weight bench and free weights. I did a lot of walking on my vacation and averaged 15,979 steps. And on Thursday, January 2nd, I had 27,707 steps. How did I get that many steps? I went to Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens is an enormous park. Busch Gardens Christmas Town was a park full of lights everywhere in different colors and patterns. It was cold and a lot of walking from park to park. Italy, Germany, France, England, Ireland, Pompeii. The navigation was super confusing to me. The park staff was of little help. There was no hard copy of a map, and the signs in the park were confusing too. It was my first time at the park, and I didn't know my way around it. It was dark and it was cold. But they had these shows with performers who were really good singers and dancers. These young people, they were so good. They even had a Sesame Street sing along with Elmo, Oscar, the Grouch, and others. So it was a win, I guess. The last day of my Virginia tour was the Jamestown settlement for the Ruth E. Carter Afrofuturism in Costume Design exhibit. That was my main motivation for wanting to go there. It did not disappoint. Art and museums are my thing. One thing that stood out to me from the other two times that I viewed this exhibit was the multiple beaded jewelry from each tribe. This is in the Wakanda Forever movie. How Ruth E. Carter was meticulous about making the beadwork match the tribal culture. The museum staff curated their own exhibit of the clothing that the actors at the Jamestown village wear during reenactments. And there was a table that you could color the attire of people from the colonial period of time. This museum was huge and so much to cover about the founding of the first colony up to and including Reconstruction, like from the early 1600s to 1900. It was amazing. And I definitely want to go back there again. And as I ponder my post-retirement career as either a tour guide, a museum curator, trip planner, I will keep this trip in my memory bank. It was great. Thank you for listening and watching.